Minutes past 12, so I can say good afternoon. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. And happy Disability Pride Month. We have but a lot of months in the calendar, but that's one that we at the MTA keep celebrating, and we're not stopping. Today, I'm Jana Lieber. I'm the chair and CEO of the MTA, and I'm joined by young Mr. Torres Springer, the MTA Construction and Development President, and even younger Mr. Camila Roy, the Chief Accessibility Officer. But we've got a host of activists and people who are spent a lot of their careers and a lot of their time fighting for disability access with us. And I just want to... Privacy notice has been updated. There you go. And I just want to note some of those because we don't have every day. We don't get Betsy Plum, the executive director of the Riders Alliance, and Ben Furness, who's the new head of Transportation Alternatives. Ben, thank you for what you're doing. You set a course, and people are noticing. Also, we've got Vanessa Barrios, director of DEI at the RPA. Are we allowed to say DEI? Oh, yeah. At the RPA, where is Vanessa? Well, she's around here somewhere. We've got Andre Robinson representing Councilwoman Crystal Hudson, a major player in our city government world. And where's Andrew Albert? Andrew Albert is an MTA board member. I know Andrew. Andrew is an MTA board member and also a longtime activist through the PCAC, the Permanent Citizens Advisory Commission of the MTA. Sandy Mislow, Self-Advocacy New York, thank you for being here. Ben Estep from the AHRC, thank you for being here. Thank you. These are all like people who spend a lot of their energy on this stuff. Mike, thank you for being here. And many others. Oh, the full-time activists. They're the Greifs. Michael Ring from DIA, and the one and only Jason. So, self-described transit guru. Yep. All right, so that's what we got. And it's a lot, and they're fun, and they're busting their you-know-whats to make us better at accessibility. We are here to announce the next dozen stations. They're going to get new elevators and other ADA upgrades as part of the newly established, newly enacted MTA 2025 to 2029 capital plan. That was made possible, brought to you folks by Governor Hochul, and she put it forward and the legislature adopted it, and it's going to allow us to fix and improve so much of the MTA. Franklin Avenue's Medgar Evers College, where we are right now, first on the list. Jamie's going to go through the rest in a minute. But I just want to say, as we added to the list and filled it out, we considered a mess of criteria. But it's worth noting that this was also the first time we engaged, in addition to our disability advocacy community, we engaged directly with riders. We created a new public tool. This is open government. This is good government. We had a new open public tool that allowed customers to let us know their accessibility priorities. We got more than 2,000 responses that are going to help inform all of our work on accessibility in the 2025 to 2029 capital plan, which, as we always remind you, has 60 new ADA stations system-wide and plus 45 elevator replacements. We have we're now well over 150 stations that are ADA accessible, and some of those elevators are running out of gas, and we need to keep replacing them to make sure they don't break down. We've gotten a lot better on elevator availability, but we need to be aggressive in replacing the old elevators. Overall, a $7+ billion investment, the largest effort ever, and it means that by the end of this capital plan that we've just entered, more than half of the subway system stations will be ADA accessible, and it adds up to stations serving 70% of our riders. So by the end of this capital plan, 70% of the riders are going to be, as part of their normal pattern of travel, be using accessible stations, and we're thrilled about that progress. We didn't get here overnight. We have been working like hell on this the last few years 36 stations have been completed since 2020, double the number of ADA stations in the prior 6 years. There are another 35 in construction right now, and we're using every available strategy and tool to get them done faster, better, and cheaper, both to make the system more accessible, but also the faster and cheaper we get them done, the more we can squeeze in some extra projects. That is something that we're determined to do if possible. Listen, we made a promise to the advocates, many of whom are here today, when we came to that historic agreement settling the long-standing litigation about ADA and the subways, and we are determined to deliver. Accessibility is a right. It's a legal right, and it serves some of the most economically challenged populations in our city. When people talk about affordability, I say transit is one of the few things that makes New York affordable already, and everybody needs to have access to it, including people with mobility issues who have, disabled folks and people with mobility issues. Seniors have some of the biggest affordability challenges in our city, but also parents with strollers, people trying to raise young families in the city. They all need to get around like everybody else. So we're passionate about this mission. And with that, I'll turn it over to the man who actually makes it happen, along with a great team, Jamie Torres Springer.
Yeah. Thank you, Chairman, for your leadership on this. We are the pace of acceleration exactly matches the tenure of Jano, first as the head of construction at the MTA, and now in his tenure as chair. And with between his leadership and that of the governor and that of my colleague Cuomo here, who we'll hear from in a second, that's why this is getting done. I can only talk about how it's getting done, and I'm happy to do that. It's a core value of the MTA, and we're happy that our commitment reflects that core value to accessibility. So how are we making that happen? First of all, putting our money where our mouth is, not just talking about this, but making the investments. Our last capital plan, that's the 2020 to 2024 capital plan, included $5.1 billion for subway accessibility. $2 billion of that came from congestion relief. That's direct funding from congestion relief. At the time, this was a massive leap forward. It was more than triple the investment that we'd made in the previous capital plan. That unprecedented investment in accessibility served as a springboard because now our new 2025 to 2029 capital plan, which is really what we're celebrating here today, is going even further. It's got a record $6.9 billion for ADA improvements, which is a 35% increase over that tripling that we did in the last capital plan. Almost $7 billion in ADA improvements, significantly higher than keeping up with inflation. It reflects a larger commitment. Obtaining the necessary funds is just the start. We're also working to get the work done better, faster, and cheaper. We're implementing design-build procurement to harness the best the construction industry has to offer at the best rate. Accessibility contracts have come in $243 million below what we estimated they would come in at since 2020. So almost $250 million in savings that go directly back into getting more stations done, more accessibility across the system. At the same time, bundling multiple stations together in one contract streamlines our contract awarding process, which is what has enabled us to get things done at 4 times the pace of the old MTA since 2020. Even before we award the contracts, our project designs are now scrutinized for cost-saving opportunities at every turn, such as direct street-to-platform elevators that we've talked about. It's better for the taxpayer. It's better for our riders with mobility challenges. We've saved another $250 million on design changes like that. So that's, if you're counting it up, that's $500 million in demonstrated savings that go back into making more stations accessible. It's all made possible by a talented group of construction professionals who have dedicated their lives to making our system ADA accessible, and we're very proud of that. And all told, this new approach has enabled a pretty incredible transformation over the past 5 years. Got some graphics up on the screen, and you can look at the boards behind you if you want to follow along here. In 2019, the accessible map looked like the board on the left. 115 accessible stations, less than 25% of our system. Since then, and you can see it on the other board, we've opened 36 stations. We've made 36 stations ADA accessible. That's more than a quarter of all accessible stations just in the past 5 years. We have another 35 stations in construction today, another 25 to be completed as part of the 2020 to 2024 plan, and 23 of those are thanks to the funding from congestion relief. And the 2025 to 29 plan, as Jano said, has another 60 or more stations coming. We've previously named 43 stations, and today we're naming another 12. Let me list them. The station complex that we're at today, that's the Franklin Avenue 2, 3, 4, 5, and Botanic Garden S. This is part of the Eastern Parkway line bundle, which is something I'm excited to geek out about with a select group of people to talk about how we're delivering this at some later point. The 53rd Street on the R, 63rd Rego Park on the M and the R, 190th Street on the A, Bedford Nostrand on the G, Cathedral Parkway on the 1, Eastchester Dyer on the 5, Fordham Road on the B and D, Grand Army Plaza down the street, also very exciting for me, on the 2 and 3, Grand Avenue Newtown on the M and the R, and Woodlawn on the 4. And even then, after those 12, we're not done. We have another 5+ stations still to be named as we complete the work of developing this plan. And Jano said it, once we're completed with all those stations, we will have 70% of riders will have an accessible station. Will be well in excess, I think 56% of our stations will be ADA accessible, and no rider will be more than one station away from an accessible station once we're done with that entire package. So we're really excited about what we're getting done here. And I want to pass it along to our Chief Accessibility Officer, Camila Roy, but in doing so, let me acknowledge his tirelessness in ensuring that we're making this system more accessible and that we're keeping it that way, and his efforts to engage our advocates, our stakeholders, the public, that helped us to develop this targeted list that we're unveiling here today. Thank you. Q.
I think we're going to turn it to Betsy.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm closing it.
Okay. Let me introduce Betsy Plum for the Riders Alliance. Here we go.
Thank you. As was said, good afternoon. My name is Betsy Plum. I'm Executive Director of Riders Alliance. We are New York's grassroots organization of bus and subway riders fighting for a reliable, affordable, and accessible public transit system. Riders organized and riders won a plan to fix the subway. And now, thanks to congestion relief, its incredible success, the fact that it's finally happening, as well as the largest capital program in MTA history, we have billions of dollars going to work to make that plan a reality, to deliver a more modern, accessible transit system. Accessibility, as was said, is not a nice to have in this city, it is the law. And it's essential to the future of our city. A city that is aging, a city with workers who deserve dignity to and from on their commutes each day, a city where parents should not have to carry a stroller up and down subway stairs, a city where the subway needs to work or it doesn't work. These projects reflect what happens, certainly when riders organize, but also when government steps up and when we all agree. A world-class city needs a world-class accessible transit system. Riders will, of course, keep fighting, and we're grateful to know that it's working. Thank you to our partners in government, and let's keep going.
Let's keep going indeed. Thank you so much, Betsy, for all of your hard work that you do and the community at large. Folks, I'm Camila Roy, and I have the pleasure of serving as the MTA's Chief Accessibility Officer. It is truly a pleasure to be here with you all, but also our advocates. Let's give it up for the advocates who keep us true to our word. Listen, they push us, but together we make progress. So I thank them every single day. I want to call out a couple of folks. Chris, thank you for being here all the time. Michael Ring, thank you so much for being the chair of our advisory committee for transit accessibility, really carrying the torch there and helping us stay true to our commitment to accessibility. I want to thank Jano and Jamie and so many other people that allow us to be here, who provide us with the funding and so much of the resources that we need. As Jano said, Governor Kathy Hochul, Chuck Schumer, and so many other heroes and sheroes that are not here with us today. Folks, it takes a village to do this work that we do. There used to be a saying in the accessibility community, disability community, nothing about us without us. Well, that was inherently flawed because that meant that the disability community only wanted to engage on topics of disability. Kind of kin to how we had 100 key stations at the MTA decades ago, talking about the 100 locations that people with disabilities wanted to go and needed to go. But that was bull. That was bull because now we know that accessibility is about giving people autonomy, giving people agency to move around their community and all of the city on their own time, giving them access to everything that the city has to offer. To me, that means giving people access to go to school. And though we're not ready to open our doors for the Department of Education to move around on our paratransit vehicles, Jano, it really moves me getting calls from DOE saying, can we use your services to get kids to and from school because it's that good. They're asking to come and use paratransit to move around because we are delivering a world-class service to New Yorkers. But it's about getting people to school so that they can get an education and go to work and contribute to our environments, contribute to our societies. After that, it's helping them get to all that New York City has to offer: Broadway, theaters, entertainment, the Botanical Gardens, and so many other places of interest that people want to go to. And sometimes for me, after a long day of work, it means access to get to a bar with my coworkers and my friends to celebrate the work that we do. Sometimes. And that is what access really looks like, and that's what it means. That's why it is so important for me to be here with Jano and the team, because we know that accessibility does not just impact the over 1 million New Yorkers with disabilities. Accessibility is universal, and it includes the 65 million tourists that we saw last year coming into New York. None of those folks could get through a turnstile with their luggage. That is why we are investing over $1 billion to redesign the fare array and provide access for everybody coming through with a bike, with an overcharged guitar, a parent or caregiver with a stroller, who today has to leave that child behind in the unpaid area to pay, because everybody pays to enter the subway, right? To swipe their MetroCard pay and come out again, open that slam gate and get that stroller. That shouldn't be the way. That's why I'm so proud to be here with Jano and the team, because we are fixing that. Folks, we are not your grandparents, your parents' MTA. We are moving on this agenda 5 times faster than anyone who came before us, because we know the impact. We know what this means for everyday New Yorkers, families, and visitors to get around and get everywhere here in the city. I'm so happy that we're doing this station first on the list here at Medgar Evers, the #1 most desired station. We've been hearing from folks for a long time that they wanted the station to be accessible. Andrew Albert, we are delivering finally. Thank you for your advocacy. But also, as you heard from Jano, there's a lot more than we want to celebrate here. Yes, we are celebrating the 12 stations that we are naming here. As you heard from Jamie, we will be doing more than just 60 in this plan. But Jano mentioned something that I want to reiterate. We are celebrating elevator replacements. And listen, I get as upset as anybody else when we have to close down elevators. But we do that so that we can deliver access to all those customers who rely on those services. We have to take down these assets when they reach their end of useful life to replace them, make them brand new, to keep them in service. I am so proud to say that in June, elevator availability in elevators that we own was up to 98%. That's amazing service. That's what we're delivering our New Yorkers with disabilities. That's why in this current plan, not on one of those icons, we are doing over 45 elevator replacements. Today, we have 28 right now, active reconstruction at 28 stations. So when you look at that list of elevators and escalator status, and you can go there today, we just revamped it today, because effective communication is really important, and we want to give that transparency and that access to information to folks who rely on those elevators. Today you will see a new column and other features on that list telling you exactly why that elevator is out. And of the 30 or so elevators that are out today, 28 of those are out for capital replacement. We celebrate that because that is how we deliver access to customers who rely on that. Folks, July is Disability Pride Month, as you heard, and in a couple of days, in 4 days, we'll be celebrating the 35th anniversary of the ADA. But the MTA was working on accessibility long before the ADA. We were the first transit system in America to have a fully accessible bus network. And you've heard me say before, and I'll keep saying it till I'm blue in the face. there are no transit deserts in New York City. We have subway deserts, but our bus system gets New Yorkers where they want to go 24 hours, 7 days a week, and we are very proud of that. It's not about new elevators, it's about new technology and so much more. That's why, again, thank you so much to the advocates. Thank you so much to my team, small but mighty. Thank you for what you do. And to all the heroes and sheroes at the MTA that keeps the system running. Jano, it is a pleasure to be here with you. Thank you so much. And thank you, everyone.
Camila Roy, let's hear it.
Unas cuantas palabras en español.
Okay.
Unas cuantas palabras en español. Estamos aquí celebrando el 35 aniversario de la ley para Americans with Disabilities. Estamos aquí anunciando 12 nuevas estaciones en este plan capital, donde estamos invirtiendo más de $7 mil millones, $7 billion, para el acceso. Estamos aquí celebrando todos los nuevos ascensores, estaciones que vamos a hacer asequible en este nuevo plan y todo el trabajo que se hace aquí en Nueva York. Con gran autoridad viene gran responsabilidad. Y este equipo en la MTA, con nuestros advocates, estamos trabajando para darle acceso a todos estos neoyorquinos que necesitan ascensores y otra accesibilidad. Así que para mí es un placer estar aquí con Jano, con Jamie y con todo el equipo diciendo vamos a celebrar y el trabajo sigue. Gracias.
Qué bien. Okay. Okay, vamos.
We've got questions. We got reporters. We got questions. Let's start with Andrew Siff of WNBC.
What a delight to be back on the transit beat. Two questions for you. Both Jamie and Jano talked about better, faster, cheaper. You're trying to save money where you can on these. But even when you save money, even when you bundle, even when you do design build, even when you do everything, the estimates for making a single station accessible, isn't it something like $80 million? And tell New Yorkers why that is. What is the most expensive aspect of this?
Well, the key is, Andrew, the cost of an ADA project is not just the elevators. That is usually like less than 5% of the cost of an ADA project. What usually has to happen is you have to move around all the communication systems. You have to move the stairways because we have these 19th or early 20th century stations that are not configured to drop a couple of great big elevators in them. So you have to create, in some cases, you have to build out the size of the station, like to create a whole new structure, to actually create new floors and so on and so on. But we are attacking a lot of the costs. For example, as Jamie said, by instead of building one elevator that goes to the mezzanine and then another elevator that goes down to the platforms on each side, we're having direct-to-platform elevators. It took us a while to convince the feds to let us do that. Long story, legal interpretation, but we've done it. And we're bundling projects. So you get, when we have projects that are being done on a particular line, for example, a signal system or other projects, where we are actually making sure that we're getting the ADA projects done, and the whole thing allows one construction company to mobilize and to get economies of scale. We are really moving quickly to manage the cost of these, but it ain't cheap, worth doing. Worth doing so mothers with children can get on the subway. Worth doing so my mother, who said to me she didn't feel like a New Yorker when she couldn't get up and down the stairs anymore, could be a New Yorker again if she were alive. Worth doing so everybody has access.
And just my other follow-up is we hear from a lot of riders who applaud the initiative, but sometimes say to us, can't you prioritize the signals first because it's the reliability of service, or is it not an either-or?
It's not an either-or, Andrew. We got to fix the whole system. We got to fix the signals. We got to make sure the structures, which have been left to fall apart for 100+ years, nobody had the money to fix them, that the structures don't erode. You should see what we're doing up on the Park Avenue Viaduct. While never interrupting service, those Metro North trains are running while we're taking it apart and rebuilding it in place. So we have to do all this work at once. It is impactful, but there's no time like now. And you know what? We got the money. Governor led the way. We have the money to invest. We're going to keep doing it.
All right, over here on the Eastern Parkway Promenade, we've got Kelly Kennedy from News 12 Brooklyn. Kelly.
Hello, guys. How are you? So, how do you respond to criticism that the MTA still lags far behind other global transit systems? And despite the progress you made, you're still not 100% there.
Well, listen, I don't know, Kelly, what global transit system you're talking about. There's nowhere else you can ride 24/7 from the Rockaways up to the top of the Bronx. The system is very special in that way. It is a great value. It's one of the few things that makes New York affordable, and service is better than it's been in the last 15 years. So we're very proud of this system. It's an old system. We have to invest in it to make it feel more like some of our modern counterparts in Europe and Asia that were built in the last 30 to 40 years. But it's a great system. We're proud of it, and it is a heck of a good deal.
You've committed to 95% accessibility by 2055. Why does it take 3 decades to get there, and can that timeline be accelerated at all?
Okay, so I think we're introducing Kelly to our beat, but what 2055 is actually much faster than had been going on before. We worked with the accessibility advocates to come up with a plan to really accelerate. And what you just heard was we're doing elevators and ADA projects depending on what you count, 3 to 5 times faster than the MTA used to do. Remember, we had a system that has almost 500 stations that all needed to get new elevators and have these huge projects. We are going much faster than anywhere else in the United States, and we're thrilled that we're able to move as quickly as we are. By the end of this capital program, 70% of riders will have accessibility.
All right, moving on to Crystal Cranmore with her hand up there from Channel 7 Eyewitness News. Crystal.
Hi, good excuse me, good afternoon. Can you clarify what percentage of the revenue from congestion pricing is going into this?
I think so. It's about 20% of all the revenues for congestion pricing are going into accessibility. But that was remember, congestion pricing was funding our 2020 to 2024 capital program, which just expired, although we're still implementing the projects because we just got the money from congestion pricing. But going forward, we have 60 new stations, $7 billion in the new capital program that are going to ADA accessibility, setting all kinds of records. We're up, like 6-7 times where we were a few short years ago in terms of investment.
Okay, and I'm not sure if this is a question for someone in the crowd or for either one of you,
Please.
But the significance of this, I know a lot of people talked about this particular station.
Yeah.
It seems like it's close to a lot of people. Can you just clarify?
Well, I don't know about you. I'm a Brooklynite, and Eastern Parkway is, the heart of Brooklyn. It's sort of the east-west spine of Brooklyn, running from Grand Army all the way out to East New York and Cypress Hills. And one station after another on this key corridor is being made ADA accessible, and we love that one that serves not only a burgeoning community as we see all around us, but also a major educational institution like Medgar Evers CUNY College is being brought into accessibility.
All right.
And it also connects to the Franklin Avenue Shuttle, which is another key connector to our whole system, connecting what we call the Brighton line, the B and the Q, going down to Coney Island to the A and the C lines a little further north.
All right, let's go to Jose Martinez right there with the city. Jose.
Hi, everyone. Jano, could you speak a little bit more, please, to the role of the public input? And was that something that had never been done previously in shaping accessibility plans for the capital program?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to let Q talk to you because he really is the one who oversaw it. Q.
Sure. So the first thing to say there is that selection of the ADA stations, it's really starts off with a statutory requirement that we have. We have a requirement by the state to look at geographic coverage, to look at ridership numbers, and to make sure that there's equity in how we spread the wealth. However, what's different in this plan was that for the first time ever, we created an online tool to hear from customers who weren't able to come to all those meetings that we had out in the field. We spoke to every borough president and elected officials from every single borough. We were out there in the communities. But for folks who weren't able to come out and speak to us directly, come to those meetings, come to those libraries, we also wanted to hear from them. And that, as you heard from Jano, we heard from over 2,000 New Yorkers who weren't able to come to those sessions to say, hey, I'd like to throw in my station. I'd like to talk about a priority in this community. And that's what was different in this plan, this go-around. We engaged every single New Yorker, those who were able to come out in person and those who couldn't were able to do so digitally.
All right, let's move to Evan Simco Bednarski, New York Daily News, right there.
Hey, guys.
I'm sorry I didn't mention the Franklin Avenue shuttle at the outset. I mean, I know it's close to your heart.
Well, you're right. That's my first question is about the Franklin Avenue shuttle, specifically about the fact that a couple of these stations overall are part of a complex. So this may be a Jamie question, but is there going to be street to mezzanine access at both the Franklin Avenue shuttle portion of this and the 2, 3, 4, 5 portion, or is somebody going to have to take the elevator down into Franklin Avenue to get to the shuttle?
It's we're still working. It's a little early to say. This is as Jano said, this is a very complex station. It's got a lot of connections, and the connection to the shuttle. We think it's at least 4 elevators here to get this done, but the exact layout and it speaks back to Andrew's question. Why is it costly? Why does it take time? Because we're not only having to build a lot of infrastructure to make the station accessible. In a lot of ways, we're rebuilding the station. We're taking a 100-year-old station and we're rebuilding it so that it can accommodate these new elevators. So we're still in the planning stages. At least 4 elevators, but very complex station to get done.
And to that point, I'm assuming that this dozen are part of one package. Can you talk a little bit about what the timeline is for putting out an RFP, making an award, construction, any of that you have laid out at this point?
They're not part of one single package, but as we said, we're going to get at least 60 stations done as part of the 25 to 29 plan. We're packaging them now. We have 7 stations that are in procurement right now from the 20 to 24 plan, including the Bryant Park Station and a couple of major packages, including some with federal funding. We're working on a large package to launch 25 to 29. It's a 9-station package right now. And then another exciting component here is with every passing day, we figure out how to be more efficient. In this case, we're doing bundles based on line segments. So you're likely to see here some work on Eastern Parkway, not where we have to go and get into the tunnels in one contract with one set of outages to get structural work done and then do ADA work as part of a separate contract with separate outages. We're bundling it together within line segments, and we're working on putting those packages together right now.
All right, closing out the questioning from Crown Heights today is Samantha Liebman from New York One. Sam?
Some of my questions were answered, but when can we expect the next 5 stations? And also, you say that in the last capital plan, you saved about $500 million in these procurements. Do you expect to do the same with these stations?
We sure do, Sam. We're in procurement right now with 3 big packages to be made ADA accessible. So we'll be awarding those contracts this year, and then we keep going. And yes, we're definitely looking at a lot of different ways to make things better, faster, and cheaper. And we expect that some of what I've discussed, the efficiencies, the way we contract in a much more business-like way, the way we organize things and manage our work, our aggressiveness about project management, the fact that we're really the owner of choice in New York, the public owner that the contracting community wants to work with, all of that is going to save us money by increasing competition and making it more efficient for how we get our work done. And of course, minimizing the disruption to our passengers.
Can I ask my off-topic too?
All right, one off-topic question, and then we're going to wrap it.
The R211A on the B, is it a unicorn? Are we going to see more of them soon? And if so, when?
I think as they come to us from Kawasaki, once they've been shaken out, completed their testing process, we're definitely adding them to the B and the Q, right? I'm pretty sure, and the D, yeah. So you're going to see more of them. I like unicorns, but I like donkeys better, like regular old, same thing you can predict every day.
Thanks, everybody. Thank you so much. That's it from Crown Heights today. Thank you.
I timed it. Yeah, I was on it. I timed it.